Array Suite includes a set of tools for managing datasets associated with samples and grouping those samples into sample sets. In Array Suite, a sample can have one or more data files, such as FASTQ sequencing data, a BAM file of aligned data, VCF file with variants, or a microarray cell file, etc. A sample set is a smart grouping of multiple samples, usually grouping samples within an experiment. These sample and sample set groupings are especially useful for pipelines and visualization in views. In Array Server, users can search samples and sample sets by name and by associated metadata. Samples can be a member of multiple sample sets, but sample names must be unique across the entire Array Server database, not just within a sample set. The data for samples should first be uploaded to the server, and then samples and sample sets can be registered by text file. To see the predefined sample and sample set metadata columns required by your Array Server configuration, click Manage, Show Sample Template, or Show Sample Set Template. This will open a new Excel file. Information about each column, including the type, whether or not it's required, is listed. A sample registration file has a simple structure. To register new samples, your file should start with the Samples section, which will list a required sample ID that should be unique across the database, as well as the file path to any files associated with this sample. Depending on the file types being added, different parameters are specified. For example, you can specify a pair of FASTQ files as FASTQ1 and FASTQ2, but you can also associate a BAM file at the same time. Other optional columns can be included, such as subject ID, sample type, sample name, organism, etc. To specify multiple files to be associated with a single sample, you need to include a pipe symbol between file names, along with the full path along the server. You can also add these samples to a sample set at the same time. The sample set section should include an ID for the sample set, title, and other metadata to describe your sample set. When you complete your sample registration file, in Array Studio, click Register Samples. Choose Server or Local File depending on where your registration file is located, and choose the file. If your file is missing a column or sample set metadata, you'll be notified by an error. The sample set I specified was missing 3 fields. This modified sample registration file includes these fields. Add the corrected registration file, and you will get a notification of the updated samples on your server. I previously registered these samples, so these samples were replaced. You can also add sample sets to group already registered samples after the fact. Under Server, Server Sample, Add Sample Set. Simply create a registration file as before, but include the sample set information first, and in the sample section, just list the sample IDs of registered samples.